Member for Cape Breton-Richmond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last week we saw an emergency debate on climate change in this House, and also in April of 2019 we saw the royal assent of the Coastal Protection Act. And the Act is supposed to be for preventing the development and activity in certain locations adjacent to the coast. What I'm really concerned about, Mr. Speaker, is the actual development that already exists there, and in particular public infrastructure in the way of roads and bridges. I would like to ask the Minister of the Environment what role does his department play and that he plays in putting together a plan to make certain that our coastal infrastructure that's publicly owned is protected in the years to come.
The Honourable Minister of the Environment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member opposite for my questions here today. We first want to really recognize the fact that Nova Scotians certainly we're leaders in climate change and the work that we're doing not only to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, but this work that she's mentioned in coastal protection is an extremely important part of it in mitigating those effects that are coming. Yes, it is an emergency. We recognize that. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing collectively with the Department of Municipal Affairs and building the regulations around what that Act actually will touch on. And in the future, as we roll those regulations out, certainly we'll be able to provide that information from what we hear from Nova Scotians and what's important to them. And again, that certain important part that we have in protecting Nova Scotia, which is in fact itself an island. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton-Richmond.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to redirect my supplementary to the Minister for TIR. I already have an emergency, I can assure you, in my constituency, and I'm sure that I am not the only one that has, in any time that we have a storm like the hurricane that we just had, we have breakwaters that should be protecting our roadways, which are provincially owned. They are obviously a federal responsibility, but at the end of the day, if they're not kept in good working order, it affects the coastal roadways, and we have several situations in my constituency where roads are actually at risk of washing away with a storm surge. Can I ask the Minister, please, what plan does he have in place in order to protect our transportation infrastructure as climate change obviously is becoming more and more of an emergency situation?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I really appreciate the question. Thank the member opposite for the question, because it gives me an opportunity to publicly thank all the 2,200 employees of TIR who worked diligently providing relief during Dorian. I've received emails from across the province thanking the department for the selfless work that was done during that during the hurricane. I really want to thank our staff for doing that. In terms of protecting our coastal resources and highways, that is something that we do constantly. And also, as the member might know, municipalities are responsible for having EMO plans for protecting their coastal areas. Thank you.